Welcome to Australia and the beautiful Crown Melbourne, home of the largest poker tournament in the Southern Hemisphere. The 2008 Aussie Millions. For 5 days, the world's top poker players have battled and been busted, rivered miracles, and been sent to the rail. Now the record field of 780 has been reduced to one final table. 7 players who share a dream of winning the $1.65 million first prize. Everyone is gunning for this man, Erik Seidel, one of the world's finest pros and best tournament finishers.
I'm not going to win this tournament on reputation. You know, I'm going to have to make good decisions.
In his way, a posse of Australian players intent on keeping this title on home turf.
I would love the title just to stay here in Melbourne and not go overseas.
Yeah, to have an Aussie win the Aussie Millions would mean everything.
The prelims are over. Tonight we'll see who'll survive and who'll be sent packing, and who will be one step closer to life-changing riches and the title of Aussie Millions champion. FullTiltPoker.net presents the Aussie Millions. And we are set for action from the banks of the Yarra River here at the Crown Melbourne. The crowd is gathered for this final table, which has a decidedly local flavor. 5 of the 7 are Australian, and 4 are from right here in Melbourne. Along with Michael Koenig, I'm Barry Tompkins, in what should be an interesting evening.
There's Erik Seidel, 8 World Series of Poker bracelets, and his eyes on the prize.
That's 67-year-old Antonio Casale, a great story. The Melbourne native is second in chips.
And there's our chip leader, Mike Chrysanthopoulos, with nearly 7 million chips, more than triple his nearest competitor.
The chip count at our main table, Chrysanthopoulos, big long name, big long number next to it. Erik Seidel, kind of in the middle of the pack, 1.5 million just about, and down the bottom, it's Peter Ling, the short stack. The blinds, 12,000 and 24,000 with a 4,000 ante. First hand of the night, Erik Seidel, first to act with an ace-6. He'll fold. Now Nino Murata, 55-year-old from Perth, pair of kings.
All right.
Announces a raise to 75,000. Action now folds around to Peter Ling, the 30-year-old Melbourne law student. He'll fold. So will the Russian Kostrytsin and Mobs. Now Antonio Casale with a 7-8 suited. And he's going to call.
From the big blind, Casale gets a discount with the suited connectors.
2 players to the flop, and what a flop for Murata.
The father of 2 from Perth has flopped the joint, but his opponent has nothing.
Check. Check from Casale.
Murata, having flopped the full house, will check back, hoping to induce a bet from Casale.
And a jack on the turn.
Will Casale bite? Yes, he will.
100,000.
100,000.
Murata just calls.
And I think he calls way too quickly, Barry. He did not look like a guy who was considering his options.
10 of hearts on the river.
Check or bet.
Casale is done with this, and Murata is thinking, what can I bet to get paid? And the answer is, doesn't matter.
200,000 to bet, and that will get Casale to fold, and Murata will take this pot down. And show his hand.
That's all.
Love the book. Unbelievable.
Murata proud to show how lucky he was to flop a full house.
It was the big aggressive players this time. Where were the aggressive players?
Well, Antonio Casale happy that he was not one in this particular hand.
Rumor is that Casale has played at the Crown Melbourne every day since it opened back in 1997.
Talk about a home field advantage. Well, here's Peter Mobs with an ace-jack suited, the 27-year-old from Melbourne. Going to raise to 75,000. And the action now folds over to Erik Seidel with a little pair.
Call.
He'll call. Murata folds, so does Chrysanthopoulos. Now Peter Ling. And he'll throw away those rags. This is Alex Kostrytsin. And a big hand for Alex, ace-king.
The Muscovite is in the big blind. Mobs raised in early position. He opened the betting.
275 more.
So Kostritsa can probably rule out aces or kings, the two hands he's really scared of. And so he's going to re-raise.
To 350,000.
Raise.
And Mobs will re-raise
The Aussie could get himself in real trouble here.
to 850,000. Too rich for Eric Seidel in this hand.
And that move really does look like aces or kings.
I'm pretty sure we have same hands.
Well, Kostritsin thinks he and Mobs have the same hand. You know better.
Would have moved a lane if you have kings and races. That's sick.
Mobs has actually made a very bold play here. It's, in my view, a bluff. Because other than an outright steal, what hand can he beat?
That's sick. Okay, I'm all in.
And Kostritsin's going to go all in. Enough to put Mobs all in at any rate.
In front, I call.
And he's going to call.
Given the amount of chips that Mobs invested, he was sort of compelled to call the rest of his chips, but I know right now he's not happy with the way this all came down because Mobs has but a 27% chance of remaining in the Aussie Millions.
To the flop and a jack in the window. Come on!
Wow, Mobs goes from roadkill to driving the bus.
That's flop.
Kostritsin taking it pretty well, but unless a king comes in the next two cards, he's down to the felt. It's a king!
Oh, man. And now, well, now Mobs is the one taking it pretty well. Good sportsmanship,
Not over yet. Not over yet.
even though I know he's dying inside.
So Mobs now down to his last gasp. He has got to see a jack or his tournament is ended. It is a deuce of clubs, and the tournament life of Peter Mobs is over. Alex Kostritsin has eliminated Mobs. That's his girlfriend, Daria Samarkina, and there is joy indeed in the camp of Alex Kostritsin. Mobs will finish in 7th place. He'll pick up a check for $225,000, just about 200,000 US dollars. So the 21-year-old from Moscow draws first blood, and we'll come back with more of the final table in Australia after this. Welcome back to the 2008 Aussie Millions from the Crown Melbourne. Peter Mobs has already hit the rail. We're down to 6 players remaining for a shot at $1.65 million. Mike Chrysantopoulos still a huge chip lead over Alex Kostritsin. Eric Seidel looming just over $1 million. I'm Barry Tompkins along with Michael Koenig, and Michael, the guy with all the credentials at the table clearly is Eric Seidel, but the guy with half the chips at the table is Mike Chrysantopoulos. It's his tournament to win.
If he were a seasoned pro, that would probably be true. But remember, Mike C. got here on a $120 buy-in. Not long ago, he was a car salesman. The danger for Chrysantopoulos is to be complacent and start thinking about the pay scale, moving up the ladder. That could let other players sneak up and take this tournament.
Well, there's a look at our chip leader. You'll notice he's wearing a scarf this evening.